My name is Chris, and thank you for joining the workshop. I'm, excuse me, I'm nobody. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm here and hosting this session today because of my experience as a late onset stutterer. I was diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, or FND, after awakening one morning, unable to speak, and having up to 20 seizures a day. That was 5 years ago. Over time, I regained my speech, and the frequency and length of my seizures has vastly diminished. But as you can hear, I've not regained fluency. But it's not the fact that I stutter per se that had me propose this meeting today. It is more my experience with friends and our medical system and its policies that prompted me to host the session. When stuttering begins in childhood, parents provide their stuttering children with comfort and support. They calm, educate, and drive treatment. Professional speech therapy and therapeutic counseling is available to children. It's unlimited and covered by our Canadian Medical Services Plan. Excuse me. Adult-onset stutterers, at least this one, are not eligible for free speech therapy. I went to 4 different therapists, and none of them offered assistance. One was willing, if I could obtain a medical opinion on what was causing my stutter, neurogenic or brain trauma, psychogenic, psychological, pharmacogenic, drug-induced, or spasmodic dysphonia, dysfunctional of the laryngeal muscles, were the options that particular therapist suggested I pursue. I received absolutely no education or explanation about stuttering. I was left to cope alone with my speech problem. The hospital where I went for help when I lost my speech did, however, provide me with unlimited access to a psychiatrist. She helped me adapt to living with poor speech and a seizure disorder. But I was offered absolutely no speech therapy or insight into the problems I was having, the symptoms. No one, and I mean no one at all, ever mentioned the word stuttering to me during my treatment at the hospital and in subsequent appeals for help to the therapists I visited. It was only after over a year of very poor speech that I happened on a film about stuttering that first made me think of myself as a stutterer, and therefore led me to the stuttering community that's become a godsend for me. With late onset stuttering, everyone around me wanted to know what had happened, why my speech had changed. And I found it a very, very challenging question to answer. And in the absence of an explanation, some acquaintances developed theories that sometimes hurt or insulted me when they shared them. I found that I presume that many adult onset stutterers like me face a significant social and professional challenge when we become disfluent as adults. I was a professor at a university when I lost my fluency. I took a semester off and then had a long summer break. By the time the university was gearing up for fall, I was communicating with grossly disfluent speech, written notes, and a speech app. I knew I could not go on, and so did the university, but they were, in my opinion, loath to instigate a conversation or talk about termination because they didn't want to be or seem to be punishing me for a disability beyond my capacity to control it. So I quit to save face for myself and for the institution. That had financial consequences for me because, as you may know, if you quit your job, you wait 2 months for UI. Whereas if you're fired or whatever, terminated without cause, you only have to wait 2 weeks. Then this is unique to people who have jobs when stuttering suddenly becomes a way of life. It's different than getting and keeping a job as a stutterer. As I mentioned, I sought out speech therapists, but our medical services plan would not cover their fees. Children, however, as I've said, are eligible for free speech therapy, and I wonder why it's not available to me. Except that this morning in the open roundtable session, a fellow named Jan Pill explained that the system seems to believe that stuttering is not correctable, therefore the funding of therapy is inconsistent with the objectives of the medical services plan. But I felt abandoned by this terrific medical system, given my inability to receive any kind of guidance whatsoever. It floored me. However, during the past 5 years, I searched for other people with FND and other late onset stutterers. And I searched high and low until this fall, when I was finally able to join a group of fellow late onset stutterers through STAMA, a UK society supporting people who stutter. And we were all very glad to meet each other, and now we meet once a month. And I have to say, I have to express this sincere gratitude to STAMA for accepting me, given that I don't live in the UK. My experience with STAMA and the adult onset support group is what led me to propose this session we're at today. I've gained strength and understanding and helpful tips from my sessions because almost everyone in the support group at STAMA has had, is having, or will soon be having professional help from speech therapists. And I learned through them and their therapy about diaphragm breathing and relaxation techniques that, when I tried them, brought me instant improvement in my fluency. And so that has left me wishing or wanting to be connected with other adult onset stutterers, to join with me in trying to create even a website or a page on the CSA website, some kind of information for people like me who suddenly have rather severe stutterers and are seeking answers and potential, not solutions to fluency necessarily, but to communication. For everyone at STAMA, everyone in the support group, all of us who stutter were diagnosed with broader problems. In my case, as I mentioned, it was NFD, and there were 3 of us with NFD. Another person had Parkinson's and others had PTSD. So it's the overriding diagnosis that receives the attention of the medical system, but not the component symptoms that with which we live. So that's all I wanted to really say. So, and by keeping my introduction short, it allows us lots of time to talk together, which I hope interests you. And before we end the session, I was hoping you might take a poll about creating a support group for people like me through the CSA. Thank you, and over to you. And I can close my notes here. Nobody? Well, thank you for coming in. That was great. Oh.
Sorry, I don't think I figured out how to use the whole so like Chris, yeah, I was talking to you like last year online, and I was talking to you earlier on today as well. I would have to say, like, I met you online last year. You sound much better now. Like, not only your speech, but just like your confidence and like just, I mean, like everything. It's just, it's like so much better. It's like your speech too. It's a huge improvement compared to like last year. I was looking up as you were talking. I was looking up some information about FND, and it is actually it is like a real medical condition. I'm surprised you didn't get any help, or I'm wondering if a doctor can like write you up a script or something like that, some kind of option for you to get some speech therapy, because it is like an actual like medical diagnosis, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I understand. I was initially diagnosed with PTSD. And to be honest, that really angered me, to be really honest, because, pardon my language here, but fucking Lady Gaga says she has PTSD, and she stands in front of a bank of speakers and talks to 100 million people in their audience. And that don't sound like no NFD to me. Because in my experience, the greater the number of people, the more I shut down. The greater the amount of noise and lights, the more I shut down. But PTSD, I didn't really know what that was. It didn't really help me, and it didn't satisfy virtually every single person I call a friend. Everybody recognized the name, but they don't know why that makes me stutter and why it makes my arms go crazy and so on. and affect my breathing. And then my psychiatrist was talking to me, and one day, a year into therapy, and she said, well, with PTSD, like most anxiety disorders, well, when I heard that PTSD was an anxiety disorder, and I thought of myself as having an anxiety disorder, whoa, that was comprehensible to me. It started to allow me, that one word gave me a context through which a lens through which to see everything and understand everything. And then I now understand FND to be PTSD that won't get better. FND, people tend to experience their symptoms for 5 years before FND is diagnosed. And so I got the clinical diagnosis that I needed. And I went back to the speech therapist who had said she might help me if I got a diagnosis. So I told her I have FND, and she said, oh, well, I can't help you. And I wish, in the moment when I'm with the doctors or with the therapists, in that moment, I feel inhibited somehow, like they're polite, I'm polite, then I leave, and then I get in the car and my head is full of questions that I didn't think of to ask at the time when in the presence of these experts. And then the connection is broken. So, and I don't feel comfortable going back to someone who said, I can't help you. So, yeah, I'm more comfortable with my speech and the situation I'm in and everything. But I would still be in the dark if I hadn't found the stuttering world. And I didn't know that I stuttered. I thought I had a speech impediment for sure. And I'd heard the word stuttering. I'd had a student who stuttered. And I'm not, an idiot, but I didn't think of myself as a stutterer until I saw the film. And then when I joined the CSA and got into a support group, the very first support group that Devin, right there with the glasses and with leads, the diversity of forms of stuttering that was so immediately present in that session was heartening, because I fit in. No matter how divergent you are to your concept of what stuttering is, or to others that you might hear in a movie, I realized stuttering was a huge, all-encompassing term, not a descriptor of a particular speech disorder, the kind of thing that I didn't have so much of. So I'm determined I really would like to, like you often hear, do something so that other people who wake up one morning like me don't have to go through that long sense of bewilderment alone that I went through. So that's what I wanted, why I did this workshop today.
I've heard of PTSD too, and I'm not saying like whether or not you have it, but I'm pretty sure I've never heard of a PTSD that causes somebody to have like 20 seizures. That causes somebody to have like 20 seizures a day. I've never heard of that kind of a PTSD before. So I'm not sure like if there is like something in addition to the FND, or yeah, like I'm not like an expert on this. It sounds like you need some more like medical to see like a doctor who probably knows a bit more about this and explain it a little bit better than I or anybody else here can, right? because I don't know about that. Like, I'm a speech pathologist, but I don't know that much about FND and what happens. I looked up some information about it, but that's pretty much all I know about it at this point. Um, but yeah, I'm sorry that you've had to deal with this, like with like the medical system kind of like ping-ponging you like between like one person and another person, sort of being kind of like a ping pong ball. Uh, yeah, is that like an accurate description of is that an accurate description, Chris?
Yes. And when I have heard in the workshops today that 1% of the world stutter, I mean, I have to be careful about what I expect of the world when I'm part of such a small minority of people. You know, on the other hand, that's why this is my first experience with anything that had me seek out a support group for anything. And I'm just so overwhelmed and impressed by the calm that and techniques that I've learned from others like me. I've actually discovered on my own, you know, I've told some people in my Vancouver stuttering group, like I've discovered one day about speaking in the mirror. Like when I look in a mirror, I'm completely fluent. And I have an alter ego that I call Rand. Rand is the currency in South Africa. And when I talk with a fake South African accent, I'm fluent as anything. And I can tell people off and I can be really rude and I'm really angry when I use it. And quand je parle en français, j'ai aucun problème de communication non plus. So it's only in my true natural voice that I have problems. And I discovered those things on my own. And in the Stammer group, some people learned from me about things they could do with the fake accent, just as I learned from them about dropping my shoulders, breathing from my diaphragm, and so on. So the support groups have been phenomenal. And that's, again, why I was interested in seeing if one for adult stutterers might be worthwhile to pursue with the CSA.
Christopher, I'm sorry, I came on late. Did your stuttering come on suddenly? It did.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. And what was your stuttering like when it was most prominent?
I can't remember,
Okay.
but I do know that my stuttering has changed over the 5 years. I have less of an initial sibilant stutter and more of a block kind of pattern now.
Okay.
I still have initial sibilant stuttering, but mostly it's blocks, like a syllable at a time kind of thing.
I see. And did you develop negative feelings?
About being a stutterer?
Yes.
No, not really.
No. Okay.
No. I
Uh-huh.
I've told in uh, a few times I have told people I grew up terribly ashamed of being gay when I was a child. And once I came out, I thought, that is never happening again. So when my stuttering started, no, I've never felt any embarrassment or shame. Thank goodness.
Yeah, because I know a woman who had some kind of a TIA, and she began stuttering because of that, and she developed profound shame and fear because of it. So I was just wondering, so what techniques were taught to you that you felt helpful, that
Yeah.
you found?
In the stammer group, you mean?
Did you ever have speech therapy?
And I tried quite a bit to get some, but no one would help me. No,
Okay.
they were very, very, very kind,
Mm-hmm.
but no, they wouldn't help me. And also I noticed in the question about shame in the stama group, that is, believe me, the biggest subject
Yes.
for discussion.
Yes.
It is really was shocking to me to hear how pervasive it was.
Yes.
It's just not been my experience.
Mhm.
I guess, like I say, because I've been through it once before, but also because I had no guidance. I was, like I said, completely on my own. I bought T-shirts, one that says mute, one that says stutterer, and when I go almost anywhere, I wear them so that people know what's going on with me. And I have to tell you, like every time I present out in the world, when out in the world, I'm pretty much mute. There's nothing. So I use my own sign language, invented sign language, Proloquo to Go, the speech app, and written notes. So when I'm going to like the doctor or a tax office or something, I write out why I'm there. And I always end with, if you have any questions, if you can possibly phrase your questions in a way that allows me to answer yes or no, that kind of stuff. So I've developed ways of functioning. But virtually every single person touches me, always between my elbow and my shoulder, always on the left arm, always. Sometimes on the right, but always in there. This seems to be the universally understood safe place to touch a human being. And they all touch me and they say, take your time, take a deep breath, go slowly, relax. I've got all the time in the world, like that. So I have found out in the world is a far nicer place than I ever knew before. And I think that with all those clerks and officials, greeters and secretaries and all that kind of thing that I run into, they universally, like, I think they sit there all day and they're bored in their jobs. Here comes another asshole with another problem. Here comes the next problem, Who's going to be rude to me next? Who's going to make unrealistic demands next? And I turn up. And I think what my speech does is immediately make them see me as a human being, a complex human being, not just another asshole with another problem. And I lighten up their day somehow. And they're very, very kind to me, which I realize allows them to justifiably feel good about themselves for being kind to someone with a disability, as opposed to impatient. And so that has been has had a huge impact on me that will last the rest of my life. I think of the world as full of kind people now, but I'm still pretty wary of people and crowds and stuff like that. So that's helped me, as has these support groups and the CSA very, 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 very much. There's Robert. Oh, there's Robert.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Robert.
Hey, I'll just take my hand down.
Oh, I love your accent, Robert.
Thank you. I know I've got that a lot today. You'd be amazed, for someone who is a covert stutterer, it can get me into trouble. No, Chris, I'm really sorry, first of all, for what happened to you in terms of waking up one day. I've made a few notes here. I'll just go down the list. The first thing that I got was a late loss of fluency. If you lived your life as a fluent man until one morning waking up, everything you've shared about the, shame and looking for help. I'm a middle-aged Irish man, and when I was young back home, there wasn't a lot of stuttering support. And I found a group support program after university. And it's like you said, the group support of people who understand and adults who stutter rather than young people. There's an awful lot of support for young people who stutter, and we're now so much better at capturing young people and even parents. But for adults, and I find I'm in that age group of, I was missed as a child and I had to navigate. So that idea of late loss, I mean, I can certainly hear, like, that is a thing to really, that must be difficult to be with, the person that you were and the person you woke up as the next day. I'm gay as well. And, I totally understand the shame of that and the shame of disclosing a stutter. And there's a huge amount of shame. I think Lucy raised her hand and said that. And really, I mean, what I'm hearing is there's been a lot of effort in dealing with what it is, with how the stutter has evolved. And just, I would just comment on the emotional side of stuff, dealing with the shame, dealing with all of those emotions and learning how to live now. It's what you said, the group support is vital. And when you meet adults who stutter and they can say, I couldn't say my name today, I feel like I'm worthless, that's more the emotional side. And I think that's where the support is crucial, to be able not to analyze what is my speech, what's happened to my speech today. It's going to be a journey because it's not going to go anywhere. But that space to say, I'm having a bad speech day, I got a negative response from people, like, that's what I think you're really pointing to in terms of the adult support and just being part of the even STAMA group in the UK. I'm not familiar with them, but I did a program that was adult support, and that ongoing emotional side to it is so crucial. Less so the physical tools and management. We did costal breathing. That's what my main therapy training on it was about, deep costal breathing and non-avoidance techniques. And because I know myself, being told to take your time only makes you more nervous. And it's patronizing as hell. And it reinforces that powerlessness feeling I'm sure you're feeling, where you're having to go in and hand in a note and all that. Like my heart, I've got a friend who used to do that when he was an out of control stutterer. But I think you're spot on. The adult support is so crucial. But I really just wanted to acknowledge you for having this workshop, because
Thank you.
yeah, but that losing who you were and waking up as who you are now, like it's just very brave, and thank you.
Thank you. I could share with my Rand voice when I discovered that I could talk like this. Well, I immediately started talking like this all the time, because it allowed me to keep up with people. It allowed me to participate, and it's very easy for me to do this. I don't have to think about how to make sounds. It just comes out like this. I don't know why either. I don't know. I didn't take any lesson or watch any movie. It's just there. And so I did this for, like, basically, if I was awake, I was talking like this. The one thing I didn't like is people who asked me where I was from, because then I'd say Vancouver, and then they'd want an explanation as to why someone from Vancouver was talking like this, which opened the door to me having, if I want to tell the truth, talk about all this stuff in my past, because the psychiatrist blamed my condition on treatment in the orphanage I was in, and then in the custodial parenting that I got, and the lack of true parenting, and that kind of thing. And I don't really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I did this for a couple of weeks, and probably longer than that. And then a person said to me, can I hear what your real voice is, your natural organic voice? Could you do that? And I went to do it, and I couldn't do it. I don't know how speech works in the mind, but like when I feel like when I close my eyes, which I do a lot, that speech is this very black jungle. And there's my French path, my Rand path, that's what this is, and my normal path, my real voice. And I have to find them. I can't just like go like a dog, like switch. I have to kind of find that path before I can go down it. And so this person asked me to let them hear my natural voice, and I couldn't find it. Yeah. And that, I've had 3 heart attacks. I've been in a really bad car accident. I've been kidnapped by a psychopath. But nothing was worse than not being able to find my voice. And I realized how big a part your voice plays in your sense of identity. And if you lose your sense of identity, what have you got?
Well, I think that's what you're pointing to. Like, as someone who stutters, I've heard and I've experienced that you can put on an accent, put on a voice, and you're fluent. You can sing and you're fluent. You can talk in the mirror and you're fluent. But I think what you're pointing to is that lack of authenticity. Yes. What is my real voice? And I think that's where the support would come in as well. Letting go of the past, letting go of what your voice was, and discovering what your current new voice is. Yes. And that would be a mixture. I would suspect it would be a mixture of all 2 or 3, because you will learn to weave all of that in, but it's in that definition of finding your, new voice. And I think adult support groups, to what you're requesting on this workshop, that would be a space to discover that.
Yes, that experience I described did make me value my stuttering voice. Like this is me, and me is who I want to be. And a lot of my friends don't understand why I'm rather adverse to using the round voice. But I had a friend who was deaf, and through him I learned about the political nature of cochlear implants. For my deaf friends, cochlear implants are anathema. And I have their aware of that. I've become very selective about when I use the round voice because I think it's rude. I think it's rude to use it. I don't like using it. I'd rather be myself.
I think it's important. Like, I've spent most of my life trying to be fixed from my stutter, and it doesn't work because you've just said it's part of who you are. And there is an acceptance, and being gay myself, there is an overlap in that acceptance of accepting what is, what you can change, and what you shouldn't have to change. And when you bring that all together and you own yourself, I would even say that it would help your speech, because by owning it more, regardless of how it sounds, it becomes authentic to who you are now. And I think that's actually the adult journey. As adult stutterers, we move past the fixing, how to fix this, how to manage it, and how to live with it as who we are. Anyway, I think I'll let other people talk now, but thank you for letting me share that, because that's what I heard. And thanks again for hosting this workshop, Chris.
Thank you very much, Robert. Lucy. Unmute, Lucy.
Yeah. Chris, this is such an interesting conversation. So I'm a speech therapist, and I find this authenticity piece with myself because I can speak in what I call my professional voice, and where I'm pretty fluent. And I struggle with this because I encourage the type of therapy I do is I use the avoidance reduction approach, because this is what has helped me. I was a covert stutterer, and I wouldn't allow myself to stutter. My speech was ridiculous. My speech was absolutely ridiculous. I made no sense. If someone asked me where I lived, well, at the end of the freeway, you turn right and it's that town, the other side of Williamstown. Like, I would talk around in circles. Oh, Sicklerville. Yeah, that's the place. If someone asked me what fragrance I was wearing, oh, I can't remember. It's a pink bottle. It has a ribbon. I bought it at such and such a store. No one heard me stutter. And this is how I talked. And then when I discovered the stuttering community when I was 43, and I realized that what I had been doing my whole life was suppressing my stuttering. And when I switched and allowed myself to stutter, I found my voice. And the whole world changed, and I became a speech therapist. And so I couldn't talk until I got the message, it's okay to stutter. And my whole world changed because of the stuttering community. This is the power of stuttering support. I was unable to, I had such profound shame and fear. And the stuttering community is what I'm from the United States, the National Stuttering, it was then the National Stuttering Project. It's now called the National Stuttering Association. Changed my life. Anyway, so my approach is avoidance reduction. And so when I'm speaking and I find myself, I struggle with, am I managing my stuttering or am I avoiding? Am I speaking authentically? Or am I I think the people who stutter here know what I am talking about. Like right now, when I just did the okay, am I suppressing stuttering, or am I allowing, like, should I have talking about, should I have let my stuttering out? So I struggle with this. So I have been a speech therapist for 20 years, and I am in speech therapy right now with a therapist who works with avoidance reduction, and she works with the with REBT, which is a psychological approach from Albert Ellis, known as rational emotive behavioral therapy. Anyway, so here is my thing, okay? I learned when I was around 10, I had been a severe stutterer. I couldn't talk. When I was about 10, I learned how to hide my stuttering, and I became covert. So I could talk, I could give book reports fluently. All through high school, my teachers never knew I stuttered, but I still stuttered with my family. And because I couldn't be somebody else with them. So when you go into your Randy voice, whatever you're talking about, you're being someone else. And so when I'm like in my professional voice, I'm sort of being someone else. The two people I stutter the most with are my sons, because they're the two people in the world who I have to be me with. They accept me more than anybody in the world. My family, my brothers, my two sons, my brothers are the people who accept me as a stutterer more than anybody in the world. And they're the four people I stutter the most with, because they're the four people that I can't be somebody else with. They're the four people that I have to be nakedly me with. And that's about authenticity. I have to be authentic with them. I can't be anybody else with them. And they're the people I stutter the most with. I don't know any of you, so I can be somebody else and speak fluently.
I noticed the same thing. It disappointed me that I live on a small island where there's nothing to do but walk trails through the forest. And I walk my dog, and I encounter other dog walkers, and I'm 100% fluent with them. And with my best friend, who means the world to me, my speech is really bad. And I tried to figure out why that would be. It seemed backwards. And I wondered if, with the people on the trail, I have nothing to lose. I have nothing, they're nothing to me. They're lovely people, but they have no ongoing role in my life. And so I figured that with my best friend, I have a lot to lose. So I think that ironically, I'm a bit more concerned about what I might say or not. With the more I love you, the more trouble I'm liable to have with my speech. As weird as that sounds, that's how I feel it from my experience, sort of anecdotal fact for me. It is weird. And I can't use the phone very well, but I can use these when I can see the person I'm speaking to. It almost allows the speech out. But when I can't see you on the phone, I have tremendous difficulty speaking. They just fixed my phone and I was pissed off. It didn't work for 2 weeks and I'd never been happier. But I wear this, one of these alarm things, and yeah, and it needs the phone to connect. So I think we're almost up, aren't we, Alexandra?
Yes,
Time-wise?
I think we have about 7 more minutes. I think it's
Okay.
at
Could we
1:15.
do the second poll?
Yes, for sure.
Because I figure the poll might give me justification to speak to the CSA about setting up a group.
Okay, I will launch the poll right now.
I also wanted to share something while the poll is up.
Oh, you know, oh, there you go. I guess I see the results.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Chris, for sharing such a powerful story. And then we were also having this covert stutterer chat, over chat. And then one of the things that I wanted to share, being a covert stutterer, is that English is my third language. It's not even my second language. And what I do is if there's any word as that I know that I'm going to get blocked or stutter, then I kind of like pick either North American pronunciation or American or English one. And I think people might be very confused as to why this woman is switching pronunciations as based on based on like no reasons at all. So yeah, and for me as well, just as growing up, I had no support group, and then I did not. I did go for speech as a therapy for a couple of sessions, and then as when I knew that it's not going to be cured, I actually stopped going to the speech as a therapy. And then this is also the first time that I've in a group in a room with people who are stuttering a lot. This is my first time, so just being here, hearing stories, and then just feeling that I was not the only one. So that's also kind of a central theme that I've heard from so many people during the sessions, that because probably it's like so less of us that we always find ourselves as the only person in our network, right? So I also always felt that I was the only one. Just so meeting everyone here has been very eye-opening. And thank you, Chris, for sharing your story. It was so powerful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Roxanne and my two buddies, Roxanne and Devin.
Chris, hey, that was so great. I just want to thank you for doing this workshop. You did such a great job. He's from our Vancouver. We're all in the Vancouver group together, so very close to my heart. And it was amazing. You're amazing, Chris.
Oh, I'll pay you later, Roxanne. Top knot.
I just wanted to say sort of the same thing as what Roxanne said. I mean, we've only been here for an hour, but I'm sure that all of you get a glimpse of just what a joy Chris is and how wonderful it's been, getting to know him in just our little Vancouver support group. And I would just absolutely love you to have your own support group for those with late onset, just because I think a lot of the discussions that we have in the support group are not even so much about trying to cure your stutter or try to make it better. It's all about just coming to terms with it and sharing stories. And that's what brings, I think, a lot of us peace and just clarity and connectedness with each other and our communities. And I would just love Chris to be able to do that with other people like him, because I think that if you had that so much earlier, I think that you would have been in a better place. And you've come so far, and yeah, it's just a joy knowing you, and I would love you to spread that joy to other people. So that's all I had to say.
I'm going to be broke at the end of this. Thanks, Devin. Well, I didn't even know if anybody would turn up for this, so I will thank you for making it so painless and pleasant for me. And thank you for your encouragement. And it has been delightful to meet you all. And Shreya, are you from, where did you say you were from? Are
Yeah, so right now I'm based in Vancouver. So
are you from Nepal?
yeah, but I'm originally from Nepal.
That is the most beautiful country in the world. You are
Thank
so
you.
lucky.
Thank you. So I moved to Canada last year. So I'm in Vancouver. So I'll join the Vancouver support group for sure.
Oh, good.
I'm as volunteering with the CSA, and then it's working with John on the employment advocacy program. But I will also definitely join the support group.
Good.
This was amazing. Thank you, Chris. This was amazing.
Thank you. It was really nice to meet you all, and I will look forward to seeing you in other workshops through the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful meeting everyone.
Yeah.
Wonderful meeting you, Chris.